Hey everyone! This time on Tim Talks Audio, we continue our stock plugin series. Today we're going over the analog delay. Let's start this one off quick and dive straight into the DAW so we can start going over some of the controls on analog delay. So here we are inside of our session, and we've heard this song before. This is a pop rock style song with a very low key kind of verse. There's a lot of space available for these vocals to sit. So what we can do is add some delay in to give it some extra space. The track we're going to be working on is this track right here, and I have a pre-fader send going to a quarter note delay, and that's just the effects channel that I have going on. But you can see I have analog delay plugged in right here, and here's the window. So let's start going over the controls of analog delay, and then we'll take a listen to some of the things that it can do. Let's start from the left, and here you have in the time section. Here you're able to adjust the bass delay time. You're also able to sync it to your session tempo. If you don't have the session tempo, or you just kind of want to set it to what you think sounds good, you could turn off sync, and this changes to milliseconds, and you can go all the way up to 3 seconds of delay time and all the way down to 1 millisecond. You just slap it back into sync if you want to be able to lock it to the grid that you have. Up next, we have speed, and inside speed, we have factor and inertia. This is actually modifying as if this was a tape delay or a single head tape delay. So factor and inertia work together to modify the tape speed. You can do some really cool automation effects and have the tape speed vary as it goes through the song. So factor itself will modify the tape speed, and inertia modifies the speed over time. You can use these together to create those cool effects. Up next, we have the LFO, or the low frequency oscillator of the analog delay. Here you're able to add in some modulation to have the delay kind of warble and have some pitch bend to it. You're able to change the oscillator wave style. If you just click where it says square, you get a little drop-down menu. You can do triangle waves, sine, sawtooth, or square. I'm actually just going to change this over to sine. This way it's a nice, easy, and smooth change that you'll hear. The big mod knob here modifies the LFO effect on the delayed signal, and you can go from -50 to +50. I'll command click that back to center. And then here you can have it lock in with the tempo as well, or turn off sync, and then it turns into a hertz time base. Up next is the damping section, and this is a low cut and high cut filter for the delayed signal. This doesn't modify the signal coming in. If you wanted to modify the signal coming in, you could just put an EQ before the delay plugin. This will modify the delays coming out of the delay plugin, and then using feedback back into the delay plugin itself. So it'll have that filtered sound when it comes back into the delay. Then in the last section, feed, you have some of our last controls here. Feedback is literally the amount of signal from the delay getting fed back into the delay, and it's as a percentage from 0% all the way to 100%. This will create some self-oscillation though and take off, so you may want to watch out for that when you're playing with the feedback knob. This boost button down here boosts the feedback levels. Then you have your width knob, and this changes the stereo width of the delay itself. So all the way to the left, you have it set as ping pong. In the center, if I command click, it goes to a mono delay. Or if I go all the way to the right, it's a stereo style delay. And we'll play with this in a little bit as well. Underneath width is the input selections, and you can do a combination of input selections down here. When you have the width knob set to ping pong, you're actually going to want to change the input side of the delay. So this is a mono signal coming in. If we hit it in the center, it's still just going to be a mono delay. But if I change it to one of the sides, you'll actually hear it ping pong, and we'll get into that. Up next is the saturation knob, and this is an analog style saturation for the delayed sound. And then last but not least is the mix knob, where you can do some parallel work with this, or because I have this on an effects channel, I just have it set to 100%. This lock button down here also locks the mix knob so that you can't go in and change it. So I'm just going to quickly put this back to the default setting and change my mix back to 100% because I'm on an effects channel. Now let's take a listen to some of the sounds. This is just straight up default. I haven't touched anything. Let's take a listen to a quarter note style delay with analog delay. So there you go. There's the straight up default sound of the analog delay. But let's go in and start messing around with some things and see how it can modify the sound a little. One of the things that I wanted to do right away is I want to put the LFO on. I want the delay signal itself to kind of pitch up and down a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and add some percentage from my mod. I'm going to change this back to a sine so it's nice and smooth, and I'm going to take it out of sync and I'm going to put it to hertz and just kind of mess around, and let's see what sounds good. Did you hear that right at the end? You could hear the delay kind of ramping up in speed. Let's take another listen, and I'm going to solo the channel too. Soloing the channel will also activate the FX channels because they are solo isolated or solo in place. That's what this green S is. So let's take a listen to it soloed. An angel in disguise is what you are to me. You could hear the pitch coming up and down and in and out because of the LFO. We can go real crazy and crank this way up. An angel in disguise. Then if we want it to be real harsh, we can make it a square wave. An angel in disguise is what you are to me. That's a little too harsh for me, so I'm going to roll it back to where we had it. And the amount that I have going on is fine. I just want a little bit going on. Then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to enable the low cut because I don't want any of the low frequencies building up any extra mud. And I'm going to leave the high cut where it is because I also don't want some extra sibilance feeding back with the delays. Let's take a listen now. An angel in disguise is what you are to me. Now, something I'm not liking is how many delays I have. I'm going to go to feedback and actually bring this down to about 30%. And then I do want the ping pong to action. This is what we were talking about before. Right now, the input is set to center, so it's hitting both sides of the delay. I'm just going to hit L, and now the delay is going to come in on the left, but you're going to hear it ping ponging. Take a listen. An angel in disguise is what you are. You can hear it going back and forth. It starts heavier on the right because the delay is delaying the left signal, and then it hits the right side first and then the left. That's where the ping pong comes in. If we go to stereo, an angel in disguise is what you... then it's just delaying the left side and taking the left side of the input. There's nothing going on the right. So we're going to go back to ping pong. And actually what we're going to do for the example is we're going to put it back to center, and then we're going to add some saturation. Let's go crazy and hear what it can actually do, and then we'll scale it back. Let's just do the last little bit there so we can hear what's going on. It's very subtle saturation, but you can hear there's a little bit of crushing going on because of the saturation. And I'm not against it. It's subtle, but I'm still going to roll it back. I just want a little bit of it. Then, like we said before, I'm just going to leave the mix as it is. Let's take it out of solo and take a listen to what we have now. An angel in disguise is what you are to me. So within this mix, it's not going to work. I'm going to take it out of pre-fader and find a good level. An angel in disguise is what you are to me. Save me from myself and I'll be free. So there we go. That's the analog delay. It's a great little delay plugin come stock with Studio One. What you could also do is something I've talked about in a previous video where you can create a dynamic delay. A dynamic delay would just get a compressor after the delay with a sidechain input of the main vocal. This way, when the main vocal is going on, the compressor is really pushing down the delays. And when the lead vocal stops, it recovers back and those delays can come forward. This will also help with the mix, and you could actually have a little bit more to your send. We didn't set that up today because it's something I've talked about in a previous video, and I'll link to that in the description. Coming up next, we're going to go to the auto filter. But as I continue doing this stock series, if there's something you want to see, just let me know in the comments and I'll push that one to the top of the list. I'm going to go through all of them, but if there's something that you really need to see, just let me know and I'll push it forward. That's all for now. If you found anything informative, please like and share the video. For more, visit timflansbaum.com, and if you have a question, ask it in the comments and I'll answer it in a future video. Thanks for watching.